The ocean was calm that morning. Too calm. A merchant ship drifted silently across the Atlantic, sails partially set, cargo untouched. No distress signal, no visible damage, nothing to explain what was wrong. And yet, something about it felt deeply unsettling. No voices echoed across the deck. No footsteps broke the silence. It was a ship that should have been alive with movement. Instead, it floated like a ghost, suspended in time, as if everyone on board had simply disappeared. My name is Adrian K. Voss, and tonight we explore the chilling mystery of the Mary Celeste, a ship found adrift in the open ocean with no crew and no clear explanation. It was December 5th, 1872, when another vessel, the Dei Gratia, spotted something unusual in the distance. At first, it seemed like any other ship crossing the Atlantic, but as they got closer, the silence became impossible to ignore. Captain David Morehouse studied the drifting vessel through his telescope. His expression slowly changed, from curiosity to concern, because he recognized the ship almost instantly. It was the Mary Celeste, and something was very wrong. There were no signals, no crew waving for help. The sails looked uneven, slightly damaged, but still functional. The ship wasn't sinking. It wasn't destroyed. It was simply drifting. A boarding party was sent to investigate. As they approached the ship, the air felt strangely heavy. The ocean was quiet, unnaturally quiet. Even the wind seemed to whisper instead of blow. When the men climbed aboard, they expected chaos, but what they found was far more disturbing. Everything looked almost normal, and that made it even worse. The deck showed no signs of struggle, no damage from violence. The cargo remained in place, barrels untouched and sealed. Food supplies were still stocked, enough for weeks. Nothing suggested panic or a fight for survival. But the crew, Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their young daughter, and every sailor on board were gone. Their personal belongings remained untouched. Clothes were neatly stored, valuables left behind. Even everyday items, like a pipe or tools, were exactly where they should have been. It felt as if the crew had stepped away, just for a moment, as if they expected to return at any second, but they never did. One thing was missing, the lifeboat, and that single detail changed everything, because it meant the crew had left the ship by choice. But why would they abandon a seaworthy vessel? Why leave behind safety, supplies, and shelter? It didn't make sense, not for an experienced captain like Briggs. And that question still remains unanswered. The Mary Celeste had left New York on November 7th, 1872. Its destination was Genoa, Italy, carrying industrial alcohol. The voyage was routine, nothing unusual planned. Everything had begun, completely normal. Captain Briggs was known as a careful and skilled sailor. He wasn't impulsive, he wasn't reckless. He had sailed many times before, without incident. This wasn't a man who panicked easily. The last entry in the ship's logbook was dated November 25th. It placed the ship near the Azores, far from where it was found. That meant the vessel had drifted alone for about 10 days, without a single recorded event. Investigators began examining every detail. They searched for clues, anything that could explain the disappearance. But the more they looked, the stranger things became. Nothing seemed to fit together. There was some water in the hold, but not enough to sink the ship. The pumps were partially taken apart, but still usable. It was confusing, inconsistent, almost careless, like something interrupted the crew mid-action. The navigation tools were missing. The sextant, the chronometer, essential instruments for direction. These weren't items you leave behind accidentally. They were taken. Deliberately, but taken for what purpose? Where could the crew have possibly gone? In a lifeboat. The open ocean offered no safe destination. Only uncertainty and danger. Then there was the cargo. Barrels of industrial alcohol, highly flammable. 9 of them were found empty, possibly leaking fumes. And that detail raised new questions. Could the crew have smelled something unusual? A strange odor spreading through the ship. Invisible, but dangerous. Maybe they feared an explosion, something sudden and deadly, something that forced them to act quickly. Imagine standing on that deck, the air thick, uneasy, unfamiliar. Every breath carrying the possibility of danger, fear building, without a clear source. In such a moment, panic can feel logical. Even a safe ship can seem like a trap, and leaving might feel like the only option. But still, why leave everything behind? Another theory suggests a sudden natural event, a rogue wave, or a powerful waterspout, something unexpected, violent, and fast, forcing the crew to evacuate without hesitation. But the ship showed no real damage, no signs of impact, no broken structures. It didn't look like it had faced a violent force. It looked abandoned. Some believed in darker possibilities: mutiny, conflict among the crew, a hidden disagreement that turned into something worse, something that ended in disappearance. But again, there was no evidence, no blood, no weapons, no struggle, nothing to suggest violence had taken place. Just silence. Suspicion even fell on the crew who found the ship, the Dei Gratia, the rescuers, the witnesses. But their stories remained consistent, and no motive could be proven. Over time, stranger ideas began to emerge. Stories of sea creatures rising from the depths, of ships taken by unknown forces, beyond human understanding. Whispers that blurred the line between fact and myth. Some spoke of curses, a ship touched by something supernatural, a presence that could not be seen, but could be felt, something that drove the crew away. But even those theories felt incomplete, because the mystery of the Mary Celeste is not just about disappearance, it's about the absence of explanation. An entire crew, experienced and disciplined, choosing to leave their ship all at once. No message, no warning, no trace left behind. Just an empty vessel, drifting. The sea has always held secrets. It hides things, erases them, keeps them buried, and sometimes it leaves behind just enough to keep us wondering. Years passed, and the mystery only deepened. Stories were retold, details reshaped, theories expanded, but no answer ever felt complete. No explanation fully satisfied the questions. Modern investigators still revisit the case. They analyze the evidence, piece by piece, looking for something, anything that was missed, a detail hidden in plain sight. One theory suggests a simple miscalculation, that Captain Briggs believed the ship was in danger, when in reality, it wasn't. A decision made out of caution. That led to tragedy. Another theory focuses on pressure from the cargo. Not an explosion, but a loud release of gas, a sudden sound, strong enough to cause fear, enough to trigger a rushed evacuation. And then there is the possibility that we simply don't know enough, that a small overlooked detail holds the answer. But maybe there is no clear answer. Maybe this is one of those rare mysteries where logic reaches its limit and the truth disappears. Because sometimes the world leaves questions behind without ever giving us closure, without ever revealing what really happened. The Mary Celeste is more than a ship. It is a question frozen in time, a story that continues to drift without resolution. Every time we revisit it, we search for meaning, for patterns, for truth. But the silence remains, unchanged, as deep as the ocean itself. Just like that day in 1872, when a ship was found alone, its crew missing, without a trace, and no explanation in sight. So the next time you think about the ocean, remember this story. Remember how vast and unknowable it truly is, and how easily it can hide the truth. Somewhere out there, answers may still exist, hidden beneath waves, untouched by time, waiting, or perhaps lost forever. And maybe that's what makes this story so haunting. Not just the disappearance, but the silence that followed, a silence that never ended. If you enjoy mysteries like this, stories that stay with you long after they end, consider subscribing and joining me again for another journey into the unknown. Until then, stay curious and listen closely to the quiet, because sometimes the silence speaks the loudest.